After hyperly studying Ryan for 4 days, these are the 7 lessons that I learned. Let's start with the first one, coming up with viral ideas.
I'm just curious, like you seem to have this knack for coming up with ideas that are going to relate to people at scale. How do you come up with ideas? Like what's your formula for what makes a good idea, what doesn't make a good idea?
Yeah, I want to be super transparent and say that like there's been times of my journey on YouTube where I thought I was like the smartest guy ever and like extremely wise. But I think that's ultimately shown me that I don't know as much as I thought I do, because if I knew as much as I thought I did like last year, then every video would have 10 million views and like that pursuit would be completely validated. But whenever I think of, videos that will do well, I love to brainstorm. I love to sit down and just think, because I think it's super important to be in tune with your own mind and really explore your creativity, because you guys have some ideas that I just won't have. You guys have perspectives that I just won't have on certain subjects. And so I think that's your unique value proposition, which is why you guys are so successful at what you do. And for me, I feel like I just want to explore whatever's up here as much as possible. And while I do sort of have the parameters of like, okay, I want this to be broadly appealing so that, like a broad community can kind of come on board, I also want to do something that my unique personality can thrive in. And there's been several times where I've not been loyal to that. Like I've tried to be Cody Code 2.0, Mr. Beast 2.0. Like I had a vlog era where I tried to do like Logan Paul 2.0. But I realized you're only going to be a small fraction of what they are. You're never going to be 100% of yourself. And so I've kind of come to terms with that. And when it comes to ideas, I got a lot of like, I don't want to say data, that kind of makes it sound cooler than it is. But whenever this penny challenge thing went viral, the recent one, I was looking at all the videos that were getting a bunch of views, like people watching the penny thing and then going to other rabbit holes on my channel. And there's like 6 rabbit holes that they could have gone down, but there was like a certain type of video that everyone enjoyed and everyone went to go binge, if you will. It was like the overnight in the world's cheapest hotel, overnight in the world's smallest Airbnb, and like these videos where I go do a thing, but I kind of am just like vlogging and like being myself and hanging out with the viewer. And so I really found a lot of like liberation in that. I'm like, oh, I need to put myself in some cool, fun situations and not overdo it. Like, let's just go do something very simple and hang out with the viewer. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I got so much information from this awesome series, like doing so well. And now I know, like moving forward, like, okay, I've got a community here. I need to go surf them now.
Even though this idea generation method is valuable, but compared to other points, it is nothing. Because among them, there is his storytelling secret.
Harmon Circle that we talk about sometimes.
Harmon Circle.
Harmon Circle, one of the most important.
And many more. But for now, let's get to the lesson number 2. RSR rule. Realism, simple and relatable. He uses these 3 fundamental things in his content, which skyrocket his views. Let's look what he says about them.
Speaking with you yesterday about this, is that realism is really important to you.
Yeah.
And that is not necessarily the YouTube meta. Like that's not really what's fully happening across YouTube.
Right.
Realism. How much do you think about that, care about that, where the brand of being a creator goes?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I think for a while, it's something that I thought was just assigned to me, like the idea of, if I want to be a creator, I have to be like Mr. Beast and ZHC. Like I have to have a logo as my channel name and my channel like profile picture. And I actually did that. I like changed my profile picture to an eyeball. What does that even mean? What does an eyeball have to do with me? And I did it because I was like, I was thinking it's one of those correlation is not causation type of situations where I was like looking at the top and seeing what they do, not realizing that I'm just a human being. I'm like not planning to build an empire. I don't want to build an empire or anything. I just want to connect with people and make videos I love. And so it is important to be intentional. Like I think about even how fonts communicate to people. Like I changed my font from being somewhat more corporate to something that's like so normal. That's just on everyone's computer. And it just feels more like me. And I think that like if creators can find those little things, like what song just feels like me? What font feels like me? What video feels like me? And it comes down to realism too, like with the thumbnails. And I found that realistic thumbnails just feel like me. It feels like, if my face is not like, then I feel more connected to the thumbnail. If I'm just making a very subtle face that's like because
Right.
it's realistic, and I'm like, oh, that's legit.
I think that's why also the concepts that you do are rooted in realism. Like they don't feel sensational. The titles might be somewhat sensational. Like
Yeah.
you're doing something like I spent, 24 hours in the world's quietest room or
Right.
loudest room. Like that's kind of like there's a superlative there,
Yeah.
right? That fits into what performs on YouTube. Then when you watch it, a lot of it is rooted in the relationship you have with the guy who runs the the room, right?
Right.
Or like the people you meet. You've done such a good job of creating characters out of those people. One of my absolute favorites is the underwater hotel.
Yes, it's so fun.
The guy you meet, what's his name?
Daniel, sweet Daniel.
Yeah, sweet Daniel.
Hello.
Have dinner!
No way.
Now, another thing is in your sensory deprivation video, you also showed this moment of really vulnerable, raw emotion.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the decision of keeping that in or not keeping that in?
Yeah.
And explain the moment as well.
Yeah, that was wild. So I got in the sensory deprivation tank. It's like a 3-hour process. It's like the longest they'll let you do it. And, for the most part, I was focused on filming the video, which is something that I think I'm trying to understand and like outgrow, like the idea of how can I have a real experience here while also capturing it. I think that's like a really interesting topic. But with this situation, like the first hour, I was kind of almost just focused on like, all right, make sure the camera's good, make sure the audio is good. And then hour 2, I kind of got more relaxed, and it was also becoming more and more deprived of senses. Like at first it was lights and
Right.
floating and sound, and then hour 2 I turned off the lights, so it was just floating and sound. Hour 3 I actually put earplugs in, so it was just floating. Like those earplugs were crazy. Those were some nice earplugs. And I had a moment in there where I actually felt like I had these like recessed memories about my grandmother, and just like the last time I felt super, super still. And it was just taking a nap with her one summer in 2008 when I was just super young. And it was wild because I literally started crying. Like I started bawling. And it's so funny because Zach helps edit the videos. And normally I'll like kind of talk to him through the video. I'm like, dude, yeah, that was funny. Like that was cool. We should definitely like put down the video. And with that, I felt so uncomfortable because I knew Zach was going to watch it. And I was like, I just didn't say anything for like 5 minutes. I was like, anyways. And so we actually talked about it afterwards.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, we should put this in the video. And so it's really crazy because I feel like to an extent, I do have a vision for what the video is supposed to turn out like. But we realize those are the moments we crave, even like off camera. On a human level, we crave those like real emotions, real conversations. And so that was a huge like turning point to me to realize like, I'm a human being. Like I have a YouTube channel, but those are the moments that matter. And so many great comments came from that. Just like empathizing with me and people sharing their experiences the last time they felt still, or like how their grandparents impacted their lives. So
After RSR rule, the next lesson is the one on which his entire career is based right now, which is making redemptive videos.
That. Like, what do you think are the ingredients that allow it to reach that many people?
it's honestly insane. I can't like sit here and act like I know what I'm doing fully. So I just say this, and I hope everyone takes it with a grain of salt, but I think that our motto for this year is redemptive work. And basically what that means is, like creating restoration in people's lives rather than essentially trying to get views to make profit. And there's exploitative work and there's redemptive work. And I feel like YouTube inherently is exploitative.
Yeah.
Like retention, you can exploit that. You can exploit people's tendencies to stay if you do this and that. Or you can make the storyline something that is literally actively energizing them and making them think about what their perspectives are and adding to their lives. And so it's crazy how you can have the same outcome with the two. I think that that's what it is.
How did you land on becoming more purpose-driven in the content?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Was that something that existed before, or like, because you've made a lot of different types of YouTube content?
Yeah, so many. So many different kinds.
Yeah.
It's almost like you could have a career for a long time and not even realize what you've been doing over the course of like several years. Like I think it's a privilege to be able to even try to pivot your perspective and your relationship with work. Like I think that's something that is a massive privilege. And I kind of started this year and I was like, if I keep going down the path I'm going on, which primarily prioritizes money, views, not necessarily prioritizing the audience, which like every YouTuber cares about their audience. And I think everyone wants to like support their audience, make great videos. But to a certain extent, they are like they're watching because you're making money. You're making videos because you're making money. And so I realized if I want to do this for a long time, which I love making YouTube videos, it's so fun. It's such a fun job. I realized I need to focus on what allows me to be fired up for the next video. Not worried about what I'm going to be doing 2 years from now, 5 years from now. What's going to fire me up for this next project? And it really comes down to that like passion. Like even the thumbnail, like that metaverse thumbnail, we went to a studio, like we got a black backdrop. We were so just passionate. And it's the most simple photo if you look at it, but I obsessed over that, and I obsessed over every second of that metaverse video because I loved it and I felt like I was making it with passion. And if I wasn't, video wouldn't have been nearly as good. People probably wouldn't have been impacted by it nearly as much. So
The similar thing he said in Anthony Padilla's podcast.
I really wanted to think of YouTube differently, and I really wanted to figure out a way to make the videos we're making not feel exploitative. Don't tell me you brought the graph.
I brought the graph.
Oh my gosh, you brought the graph.
So you have this graph.
I feel like I'm giving a TED Talk.
Sir, give us a TED Talk.
Okay, everyone. So, dude, this is so fun. Thank you for doing this.
So Ryan Trahan's TED Talk begins now.
This is basically the framework we developed. It's redemptive work versus exploitative work. And if you look at the what, how, why, you're basically seeing that the what of exploitative work, which is, in my opinion, the idea of like retention hacking, like not making a good video, just doing something that's good enough for people to click on it, and then hopefully making an experience that's good enough to where they watch the whole thing so you make money.
Goal is numbers, views, money.
Redemptive work, the difference is what we build is we create for restoration. The whole goal of the video is different. It's not for rewards, profit, it's for restoration in the consumer. And so the idea is it totally shifted from how do I strive? How do I like get control? And it's such a loving, like, it's almost like a maternal approach to work. It was so beautiful to me. And finally, the why. This is like the coolest to me. So the exploitative version of doing anything, we win by force. It doesn't matter what it takes. Doesn't matter who gets hurt in the process. And so to me, that's just like a level of even treating your team right, and even like treating the people around you right that help you make what you make. Because the redemptive version of that is we serve for the greater good. The idea of like being able to serve for the greater good is so much more empowering than trying to win by force.
Let's get into the next lesson, which you should be implementing right now, which is don't copy, be inspired.
Right.
And now we've landed in a place where we feel like we have purpose, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of creators are going through that.
Yeah.
Yes, you can build a career off of like copying and imitating formats.
Yeah.
But is it the career that you want?
I feel like it is a natural arc. Like when you're a small town kid and you have a dream of being a YouTuber, you're not going to be like the most genius person in the world on the platform and like first upload, everyone's like, oh, that's insane. Like you're literally inspired by the people you watch. And so I think it's respectable to get started by being inspired and potentially even copying people just to see like, hey, what does an audience think about my videos, and what do they think about me, and what did they like about this? But I think it really is actually a disservice to yourself and your potential if you don't ask yourself, like once you kind of get to a comfortable position, like who am I, and like what is my vision, and what is my genius, and what can I provide to this platform that no one's ever seen before? And take what I've learned, but also take the torch and go farther. And I think that's like what a lot of people will, might be doing a disservice to themselves.
Now the next lesson is purpose-based videos.
We basically have a vision this year, and it's like, how can we say something? Like, what are we doing here if not to contribute to society in some way? Like, that's what all art does. It's supposed to have a message. It's supposed to have a purpose. And so that's what the metaverse video was. This is a topic that we're interested in. How do we feel about this topic? Like, is this something that we're excited about? Is this something that we think is scary? And what story can we tell if we spend 100 days in it? And that's what it was. We went in there with the idea that we're probably going to meet some weird people. We know that. And we did. We met some weird people in there.
Yeah. You're beautiful.
Oh gosh, hey, whoa. I'm married.
But at the same time, are there redeeming elements? Like, can I find a friend in here?
Clay, what's up, dude?
What's up, buddy?
Long time no see.
And what are some things that we can observe over my real life? Like there's a lot of sort of Easter eggs in that video. And it's kind of fused between like reality and knowing we wanted some messaging. Like if you look at the video, there's a plant in the background that just slowly dies throughout the whole video. And that's supposed to represent like how your real life is going to suffer at the end of the day if the metaverse becomes your primary focus. And even relationships will suffer. And obviously that is definitely like intentional, but it also just happens naturally if you just watch the video. Like you just see things like the way that I interact with people in real life in the metaverse. You can't interact with someone when you have a headset on, like not in real life in a genuine way. So it's really cool to see how it came out. And I think people really felt it. Even if I didn't spell out what I was trying to say, it was felt by the end of the video. So
What do you think if Ryan Trahan give an honest advice to new creators like a big brother advising his little brother? Here it is, advice for new creators.
Cool. What advice would you give to a startup YouTube creator right now who's trying to become the next Ryan Trahan?
Go watch Colin and Samir and just binge. No, I do think you guys are a great resource. I would say the biggest, most exciting and life-giving habit that I have is I talk to a couple YouTubers very consistently, and they're some great friends of mine, and we'll talk beyond just like, all right, what do you think about this thumbnail? What do you think about this title? We'll talk about like, how are you feeling emotionally about the idea of doing this for another 5 years? Or like, I noticed in this video, I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of different from your regular content. Like, how are you feeling? Okay. Like, how do you feel about this video? Do you want some feedback about this? And I would say just having like those people to make you feel sane. Like, this is such a weird job, albeit a huge blessing, but it can make you feel kind of like I'm going nuts. So having a community of people that, creators that are doing the same thing. And like I said before, I don't think subscriber count matters. Like I've learned more from people with less than 10,000 subscribers than some people that have like over 10 million, And I think it really just comes from, having that friendship and that community. Brotherhood.
The next lesson is his storytelling format, which he explained in the editing podcast.
The story was very organically captured on the day.
Exactly. And there's like natural attention in that as well, like with the money building and money's being spent, and the Harmon Circle that we talk about sometimes.
Harmon Circle.
The damn Harmon Circle, one of the most important tools to learn storytelling. Yes, you did. Yeah. You started one way and then ended in the same place, having changed every single day.
Hammock to hammock.
Hammock to hammock, literally.
Hammock to hammock. For people who don't know, what's the Harmon Circle?
The easiest version is like a person or like a character starts in like a natural state. Like Ryan will start in his bedroom, okay? And then he goes on some quest and encounters some obstacle. And then he responds to that obstacle, whether like a win or a loss. And then he returns to his normal state, being a changed person. That's like the most simplified version.
Yeah.
That's
Dude,
it.
so
That's
good.
exactly it.
Small incremental changes, and let's just say sitcoms and TV shows follow that same philosophy. Small incremental changes, but they end up to an extent in the same place, having changed ever so slightly. And then you do that over the course of a season or over the course of an entire TV show, and then the character who they was at the beginning is now a completely different character who they were at the end. And it's done with small changes and small trials and tribulations, small obstacles that help challenge small aspects of their personality and then grow that way.
This Harmon Circle, I wouldn't even say we weren't even thinking about this on the day-to-day, but now that you guys are saying that, it's crazy how, in reality, in my own personal life, I conducted a Harmon Circle with the Penny series because like the goal, like you want something. I wanted YouTube to feel alive. And so like this was a manifestation of that. And so I left my natural state of just being here like in Austin, went on an adventure, and then I came back and now we're like talking about it. And it's so crazy how like this is kind of my takeaway with storytelling is like life tells the story. And I feel like oftentimes on YouTube, like now we're trying to make the story like somehow portray life. And I feel like the videos, like there's a way to do storytelling poorly. And I feel like it's when you're not letting life just unfold and just trying to refine it. And I think the Penny series taught me a lot for like what we want to do next of like, let's just go have experiences and then we can tell the story in post. Let's not create the story before it's even unfolded. So.